There is a crisis happening in the classrooms, and the teachers on the front lines are the ones sounding the alarms.
So yesterday I came to the realization my students can't read.
I teach 7th grade, they are still performing on the 4th grade level.
When I tell you that these babies cannot read, they cannot write, and they cannot comprehend, I'm not being funny.
You know the thing kids go to school to do, like learn the fundamental skills used to go through everyday life? Yeah, that's not clicking anymore.
Vast majority of students that I teach in my class do not know how to read, write, comprehend, critical think. They just cannot.
And okay, it's easy to chop it up to the pandemic, maybe them damn phones, maybe the kids who never learned the basics were the first ones to multiply.
Everyone's always saying, oh, the kids are lost. Like, the kids don't know how to read, they don't know how to write, they're so disrespectful, they have no social skills, they're just iPad kids times 1,000. Like, it's so bad, it's so awful. Yeah, because the hot Cheeto girls became parents first.
Regardless of the cause, the clock is still ticking. From kids to teens, almost young adults, they keep hitting more milestones. They keep absorbing content and trends meant for people twice their age, but their development isn't keeping up.
She wore a sahalat of clothes that were extraordinary, whatever, bro. She wore oh baby. She wore a silhouette of clothes that were, I don't know that word. I don't even know how to read. I don't know why.
I'm sure you've all seen the videos and the TikToks. Gen Alpha can't read, they don't play outside, brain rot, iPad kid. It's a conversation that's spiraling all over the internet. But in this video, we need to talk about the root cause of the crisis that no one else is discussing, and also how these kids were basically set up to fail from the jump. Welcome to the Girl Talk you didn't know you needed. And I'm not saying you have to subscribe. You're classy. I know you don't just give those away for free, but hopefully at the end of this video, we become bestie enough for you to take that next step. Now, considering we're talking about how important it is to be prepared for adult life, that also includes your finances. This video is sponsored by Chime, America's #1 choice for banking, and they're offering a $75 bonus when you open a new Chime checking account using my link. Lately, I've been trying to be a lot more smarter with my funds. I'm getting groceries, I'm paying my car note, I'm getting gas, which have y'all seen the prices of gas lately? Chime comes through though, because while I'm paying my monthly necessities using my Chime Card, they offer 5% cash back on any category of your choice, meaning you can get 5% cash back on your travel expenses, going out to eat, and you can also change your selection every month. Now, while getting cash back is definitely the fun side of spending money, the smart side is having a high yield savings account for your money to grow. Chime offers one with a 3.75% APY, which is 9 times higher than the average. With no monthly fees and no minimum balance requirements, you can join the millions who are already banking fee-free with Chime today. So go to the link in my description, or you can scan the QR code on screen to sign up and get your $75 bonus today. There's a huge reason why the older generation looks at the current classroom situation and shakes their head. Most likely because they remember when the entire system was built to prepare kids for the heavy responsibilities of the world.
Bulwark of the American form of government is education. For true democracy can exist only among a people prepared from childhood for the responsibilities of citizenship.
Back in the day, these students were learning, but it went way past your basic math, okay? Sure, they learned how to read, right alongside learning how to manage a household and handle hands-on trades.
The 2 older children go to an LCC primary school. They learn not only from books, they also learn how to become good citizens able to earn their living. Girls, for instance, enjoy domestic science, boys carpentry, metalwork, and so on.
Look, we all know schools back then were a lot more stricter than schools today. I'm pretty sure your grandparents have told you they used to beat us with rulers back in the day. And they weren't lying. The entire classroom was ran on a strict program and pure fear.
And the schools could be pretty strict. Students would sit politely on wooden benches for fear of caning.
Come up here this instant, you little upstart. I'll show you who's teaching this class.
Now, with me showing you all of those clips, I'm not saying we need to go back to the 1950s. For obvious reasons. I'm also not trying to prove that kids back in the day were any better than kids today. I really just want to show you how much the bar for academics, discipline, and just the expectations for a child to keep up in general has been lowered. The old school system used to operate on something way bigger than the standard things you'd expect children to learn. They taught them the huge responsibility of handling themselves, meaning they were forcing them to look at their own actions, fix, and then learn from then on.
Hank, I can teach you how to punctuate and to spell and how to write themes, but more important, you must learn to face responsibility. While you're a student at Lincoln High, it's your job to know what the lesson is, how it's to be done, and when it's expected. I can't make you responsible. That you have to do for yourself. That's all, Hank. Thank you.
Like that teacher said, she can teach her kids how to read, write, and punctuate. But the real magic had to do with them building the habits, the discipline, and the focus that allowed them to even succeed academically in the first place.
But when we go to the library, we are very quiet, because we know it's the room where we read to ourselves. And you know, we have found that knowing when to be quiet is a part of growing up.
If we wanted to look at it how it looks, these kids were trained.
Stand up, young man. Are you a Negro, Travis?
No.
Are you a flunky, Travis?
No.
What are you?
I am black and beautiful.
And what else are you? Are you a boy?
No.
What are you?
Oh, man.
Think about it like the school day being an exercise for their mental endurance and a way to make sure that they were ready for that high standard already expected out of them. Of course, they were taught the basics, but they were also taught how to think critically, retain information, and just make sure their lives were organized.
Bert helped me draw up a homework schedule that lists my subjects, the assignments, when they were made, and when they're due. I'm also learning to schedule my time a little better. So before starting any assignment, I read through and check my notes as carefully as possible. I'm finding out that the better I understand an assignment, the better I can do it.
These kids were learning time management and how to structure their responsibilities without anyone having to hold their hand. With this foundation set and being in an environment that required that strict mental discipline, the students had no other option but to lock in. A noisy classroom may be annoying today, but back in the day, it was honestly viewed as a complete failure to the learning environment.
It looks as if everyone is busy at work, but it's so noisy. Sometimes children drop things on the floor. They call across the room and talk out loud. You couldn't learn very much here, and you couldn't be proud to be part of such a noisy room, could you?
They were expected to sit completely still and be mentally engaged for hours. They went out of their way to stay on top of their workload and didn't miss a single note. And if they did, they went straight to the source to get it right.
Miss Jackson, I'm sorry, but I didn't get the complete assignment for tomorrow. There was so much noise in the hall.
I know, and I'm sorry. It's chapters 9 and 10. Read them and be ready to discuss them tomorrow.
Chapters 9 and 10. Read and be ready to recite in class, as we have been doing. Is that it?
That's it. And I promise not to wait until the end of the period to make the assignment next time.
Thank you.
When you think about it, school was looked at as the first place that set you up to be a functioning citizen of the world. Society expected these young people to transition into adulthood immediately after graduation. You got the diploma, the baby was already on the way. You threw the graduation cap off your head and they were ready to throw you into the war next. A lot of these students were planning on going straight to college, potentially starting a family or going to war, but the first place they had to stop was school.
Yes, high school first. You need it for life in service and afterwards. You need the courses. Algebra, civics, English, history, and all the rest. You need the activities and all the other things that go on around here. Things that help prepare you for life.
Now, if you're looking at these perfectly polished students and you're thinking this is way too good to be true, you're valid. Kids will always be kids, okay? From 1942 to 2022, they're all the same. And no matter how much you try to mold them into a little adult, that urge to act up, lose focus, be distracted, test boundaries, on and on, that will always be in their blood.
All right, dry.
This? What kind of behavior do you call this? Wait a minute, you stay where you are. This is the kind of behavior I might have expected of you. All I do is leave the room for a few minutes, and what do I find? Confusion, disorder. And you, what were you doing?
I was just going...
Going to what? Throw the eraser, I suppose. It's a good thing I caught you. I'll make an example out of you.
But
That's enough out of you. Leave this room and report to the principal's office immediately.
Schools already understood that children will naturally be children, but they also believed that natural children impulses weren't an excuse for bad behavior or poor performance. And even the students knew the expectations and the rules clearly, but staying focused obviously didn't come as natural to all.
In class, for example, I know the rules. One is that to get the most out of a subject, you must follow the classwork. But I've gotten into the habit of letting my mind wander to other things.
Either way, the students couldn't let those distractions start affecting them academically, because that's when the pressure that not a lot of modern kids today have to worry about, might I add, starts kicking in. If you couldn't stay on track, couldn't keep up, or care to, you could be left behind, literally.
Most of you have no foundation at all. Now, the trouble's with your attitude. You don't pay enough attention in class. You don't do enough work outside of it. You don't know what the word study means. You haven't the slightest idea. Don't you realize that mathematics is an important subject? I tell you right now that unless you get over your lazy habits and come up to the standards I've set for this class, many of you will have the pleasure of repeating this course next semester.
Having to repeat a course or repeat a grade, that was the ultimate consequence, the ultimate punishment, and something that filled a lot of kids with embarrassment. But I want to note this, okay? There is nothing wrong with letting a child know, hey, you don't understand this, so let's slow down and get you caught up. But were the teachers and that strict standards back in the day letting these kids down that easily? No. So instead of keeping that high bar and pushing students to reach it, the system would eventually decide it was much easier to just lower the bar altogether. But before we get into that, the reality of that old school strict standard started to show some cracks. They were forcing students into an environment of strict discipline and holding them up to a huge standard, which for some students, it turned out to be the best approach. But for other students, it had an opposite effect. So, traveling from the 40s, 50s, and 60s earlier mindset and getting a bit less vintage, people started realizing that not every student was thriving under that strict keep up or get left behind environment. And as a result, high school dropout rates across the country started increasing, and fast.
The dropout problem is a tremendous problem nationwide.
Does anyone have an idea as to why, Rebecca?
Well, there are many reasons that research points out that a reason why students are dropping out. One reason is because of low self-esteem, and because students are just not motivated like they should be, or like they used to be in the past.
For decades, if a student dropped out or they failed a grade, society just viewed it as a personal failure. They fell behind, they couldn't keep up, oh well, that's on them. If a child couldn't keep up academically, the system often just kept moving without them.
The pattern these students would take in these schools was very routine, very predictable, very efficient, like a factory. So the basic story is they would come into high school, many multiple years behind grade level. Many of them would fail their courses. The school system would say, well, try again under the same circumstances. They might do a short time in an alternative school and then drop out. And to us, that seemed very routine, very factory-like.
And eventually, more and more students started mentally checking out of the education system entirely. But by the 1980s, the government realized this individual problem was turning into a national one. They created a report that made it clear that the individual problem of a student failing has now turned into a national one that was threatening the country's future.
The Nation at Risk report really caused all of us to take a hard look in the mirror and understand how much work we had to do with our students. And it was really a clarion call for action.
This is back to the early 1980s, the early Reagan administration. The U.S. Secretary of Education at the time, Ted Bell, said, we need to get a blue ribbon group together to take stock of how we're doing as a country in education. And by 1983, they had come up with this blockbuster of a report.
Let me put this into perspective for you, because this isn't just about students failing anymore. Economically, high school dropouts were earning way less than students with a diploma, and that doesn't make them a failure per se, except maybe in the eyes of the government. They were technically paying less in federal and income taxes because they were making less, meaning also they were much more likely to depend on government assistance programs. Billions of dollars were being lost, and the United States was actively falling behind more disciplined nations.
A Nation at Risk was a report that really was a wake-up call for our country.
A Nation at Risk called out the poor performance of American students. A Nation at Risk was really using a sort of national competitiveness argument, really made the case that our underperformance in education was a threat to the nation.
They started to realize that large groups of students failing and dropping out was affecting the economy, the workforce, and just the country's reputation. And y'all know one thing about the United States, they love to be in first place. They love to compete. So this was a competition to them. And now they needed a way to save the country's reputation. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to save the children. Of course. Eventually, the government stepped in and created a system that would change the classrooms forever.
It's time to come together to get it done so that we can truthfully say in America, no child will be left behind.
The president's nearly $48 billion education plan includes testing children annually to more closely monitor reading and math skills, rewarding schools where grades improve, and punishing failing schools by cutting federal money to districts that don't show progress.
Now, on paper, this sounded like the perfect solution. Every student deserved the opportunity to learn and academically succeed. But once schools became responsible for the result of their success, things inside the education system started to get a bit more complicated. Because let's be real, the finger was now pointed at them.
Can a child read at grade level? And if the answer is yes, we all say great. If the answer is no, the question will be, then what are you going to do about it?
To prevent these schools from looking like they were failing on paper, because now it looks like this. If the school fails, then the government fails. You see what's happening? Schools became more focused on testing and performance scores, graduation statistics. Teachers were under pressure, schools were under pressure, the government was under pressure, the districts were under pressure. Everybody was trying to avoid being the one labeled as failing. And to avoid that label, don't get me wrong, schools were still holding kids back, a lot of them actually. The complete irony is, under a system called No Child Left Behind, schools were leaving a lot of them behind because they wanted to force those test grades before moving them forward. And in the end, the only one that ended up failing was the student that passed through.
That in No Child Left Behind, essentially what it was telling states was really set low bars, or write easy tests, or set low standards that you call proficiency because you stay out of trouble under the law, you get even more money, and everybody comes out looking good except for the kids who actually are no better educated than they were before the law.
Now, at this point, a lot of you may be thinking, this is the problem, okay? The kids aren't being left behind. The kids aren't being held back. Because in theory, if a child isn't absorbing anything within their grade level, just let them try it again. Easy, right? Problem solved. Not really. On one hand, it's boosting the child's academic growth, yes, but on the other hand, it can completely stunt that child's social growth. And schools eventually realized this.
Holyoke has some of the highest rates of children who have to repeat the school year in Massachusetts. About 25% of children are held back.
They are much more likely to drop out. They are much more likely to experience behavioral difficulties. They are much more likely to have low self-esteem.
So what are the schools gonna do now? They couldn't hold them back, but they couldn't let them fail. If you can't push the kids to meet the standards, then push the standards down to meet the kids. Schools were looking for a way to make learning easier for the kids, and that was right around the time when technology was starting to take over the world. Now we're seeing a digital shift where things like typing on a keyboard became a greater priority than learning how to write cursive.
Don't judge a book by its cover, and don't judge a class by its title. In this summer writing workshop, students aren't writing, they're typing. It's the way of the world and the classroom. Computers are key. Cursive is nearly obsolete.
Schools not teaching kids cursive anymore might have been the downfall of it all, because what do you mean you're not teaching kids how to sign their name? Signing your name, you have to sign documents and contracts and... I digress. All of those years of lowering standards and basically letting technology do the heavy lifting, it was basically hiding the fact that kids were still falling behind, but behind a screen. So when the pandemic hit, and when they actually had to start learning behind a screen, we couldn't be surprised when the whole system collapsed.
Well, schools staying closed, it's going to have a huge impact all over our region. That's what we're hearing from school officials across our area. He thinks there's going to be a learning gap.
I'm afraid that when it's all said and done, that we will be behind, that many of our kids will be behind, and some much more behind than others.
The pandemic and online learning, it did cause a lot of issues, but it didn't create the problems out of thin air. It just took the reading and the behavioral issues that were already bubbling, and it just brought them to a boil. A lot of people blamed the lockdowns, and they just assumed that students would bounce back once schools reopened, but then schools reopened and they didn't bounce back.
Math and reading scores have dropped to their lowest levels in more than 2 decades among high school seniors.
Student achievement has continued to decline significantly since the pandemic. What's worse, nearly a third of seniors did not have the basic reading skills needed to find the details in a given text to understand its meaning.
Which gets us to where we are today. I see it, you see it, there is an academic crisis happening among us. And that no child left behind thing we talked about earlier, teachers are coming online and saying that's the exact reason why.
So the kids who should have been left behind are now parents of the kids where every student succeeds. The kids who should have been left behind have now made it that every student succeeds because they were failures in school. No shade.
Teachers, go ahead and put the zeros in the grade book. Just go ahead and put the zeros, because y'all been offering recovery work since August. And then I'm getting a million emails, baby, give them the zero. Because I don't even recall us getting this many chances when I was in school.
New to me, but I'm scrolling through the comments from that video and it's full of teachers saying, we try to, but admin doesn't allow us. We can't put a 0, we have to put a 50. And also, if we put zeros, they just pass them to the next grade. All of those years of the government and school boards faking the data to keep graduation numbers high have basically created this loophole where students are failing forward. And when I say failing forward, I mean teachers having to teach 3rd grade math to students who are 3 school years away from graduation.
I teach high school, and I just put a 4.5 foot by 4.5 foot multiplication chart on my wall, because my students, bless their poor 9th grade hearts, were in 3rd grade when COVID happened. They do not know their multiplication facts. They just don't. So instead of shaming them, I'm gonna just put the chart on the wall. I'm gonna just put it on the wall.
And the school expects them to do high school work, even if they're missing the basics of everything within it. So they're in their right grade level, but they can't read on it.
So yesterday I came to the realization my students can't read. That is the tragic truth. They're not going to read because they don't understand what they're reading. They don't want to struggle, and I get that. But at the same time, they're not going to get better either. So it's like a catch-22.
And they can't catch up because they can't read the material, but they can't learn the material until they catch up. It's a doozy. And some of the students, yes, they do know how to read. They try their best. They just can't comprehend anything else after that.
The colonel asked the choir to accommodate the governor's schedule.
What does that mean?
He's asking the choir to accommodate to the governor's schedule, right?
Yeah, in your own words.
Colonel is asking the choir to accommodate to it.
In your own words.
I don't know, bro.
The colonel asked the choir to accommodate the governor's schedule.
What does that mean?
He asked the choir to accommodate. I don't know.
As we can all see, that mental endurance from the past is not being taught anymore, because how are they able to learn the information but they can't put pen to paper? It's like they're being trained to learn the information, pass the test, and then great, they did it. But then they don't even understand what they just did.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why children are not able to retain information anymore. Like, we just spent 3-4 weeks practicing, rehearsing, going over the lessons, doing worksheets, doing whiteboard work, small group, whole group, repeat it again. And then we come to the test. And I got kids looking at me like, I don't know what to do. Yo, we just spent all this time and you retained nothing?
Retaining information is a skill. It's a lost skill now, and it takes a lot of focus and discipline. But now, kids don't really have to do that at all. The whole day is mapped out step by step with iPads and apps telling you exactly what to do, what to click, where to look next. Platforms like Canvas and Google Classroom basically handle the tracking for them. It lays out every single task in an easy to follow list. No critical thinking necessary. So instead of thinking through a problem, it becomes a habit to just sit back and wait for the next command.
Kids do not know how to take tests. They ask me so many questions whenever they take a test. And they're not like, can you read this to me? It is, I don't get what it's asking me. Can you help me with this? We have been so used to helping kids that they don't know how to do it on their own. And that is a problem. We are raising an entire generation to be spoon-fed what to do next.
But we can't even blame the children, because we're literally living in an automated world where a device retains all of our information for us. This is what I believe to be the root issue. It started in the earlier days with the rise of the internet, school boards just wanting to be fresh and hip and up to date. So we had classes dedicated to teaching us how to use computers. At least I did. And y'all, I was so stressed trying to make sure that my keyboard speed time was up, because my teacher was like, you need to learn how to type on a keyboard. You need to learn. Like, I didn't understand at the time why computers were so important. I mean, of course, now they run everything. They gave us Chromebooks. We started taking all of our tests on them. Everything education included a screen.
Chromebooks. The Chromebooks ruined education. The iPad in every classroom ruined education. The fact that we have to put every single thing and make every single lesson technology ruined education. Not only do they have screen time all the time at home and at restaurants and in the car and whenever they're with their people, they also always have a screen at school. Now I have to fight the fact that they always have a Chromebook at their fingertips.
So what's happening now are the screens that they handed us to learn better on are getting way too advanced. And I don't think anyone was prepared for AI to step in and start automating the actual thinking.
I think we've reached a point with AI where we can confidently say this is not a tool that is revolutionizing learning.
This is a nightmare that is destroying learning. 100% of times when I see students use it, it is so they do not have to think. I'm talking about putting an essay prompt into ChatGPT, not even reading the essay prompt, copying and pasting the results into a doc and submitting it without even reading it over.
It's thinking for them. They use it to write their essays, to solve their math problems, and handle every basic task, even leading to some teachers quitting because at this point they're thinking, why am I even here?
Posting a raw and unfiltered farewell video as she leaves the classroom behind after just 3 years.
A lot of these kids don't know how to read because they have had things read to them, or they can click a button and have something read out loud to them. I just don't think these kids even care. They don't care about making a difference in the world. They don't care about how to have a resume. They don't care how to write a resume. They don't care how to write a cover letter because ChatGPT will just do it for them.
So, since we have our handy dandy devices to track all of our thoughts for us, you can imagine that basic everyday things that children should be knowing, like their parents' name, their addresses, things like that. Well, that's not being registered either.
They don't know their parents' numbers. They don't even know what apartment they live in. They don't know what street they live on. Which brings me into number 4. They don't know their address. We ask them, where do you live? I live down the block. Well, what's your address? I don't know. I'm talking about 3rd graders, y'all.
So we've seen the effects of No Child Left Behind. You see what's happening in schools today and how we got there. But where are the, I guess we can call them guinea pigs of the whole experiment at today? And okay, technically, we don't know if this woman is a result of the No Child Left Behind. I'm going to let you decide that yourself. But a mother uploaded a TikTok voicing her concerns about her daughter's report card, and it sadly but perfectly exposed the entire loop.
Boy got home today and her report cards, these report cards are weird. I've never seen report cards like this before, but her handwriting score, all of them were 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 1, not meeting standards at this time. Okay, first name, a 1. Last name, a 1. Uppercase letters, lowercase letters. Okay, I understand she might get them mixed up. You see she only missed 3 right here for the uppercase letters, and she missed 5 for the lowercase letters. So I'm trying to figure out like what's really going on in the school. Like, I'm really about to change schools again.
Okay, she disagrees with the teacher's grading, says her daughter's handwriting is not the best, but it shouldn't be a failing grade. Okay, let's turn it into a learning experience. Maybe she could teach her more handwriting skills. Let's strengthen them. But no. Instead, the mother decides to show off her handwriting skills by writing the teacher a letter.
Okay, so yesterday, y'all know that Koi got her report card, and I wrote the teacher a letter. Don't talk about my handwriting. I graduated high school, and I did some college, so.
She starts off, hey, Miss Kid. Notice she spelled hey, H-A-Y. Then when she says Miss Kid, she put a lowercase m. No apostrophe in between the I and the M in I'm. She says, I've never seen a report card like this. I figured it out, though. You got capital letters in the middle of a sentence, just like your child. And then the one letter you're supposed to have capital, the I, is lowercase. She put a capital F and figured.
After she uploaded her response to the teacher, her letter that, keep in mind, starts with hey, written H-A-Y, the internet had a field day.
People that should have been left behind are creating kids that are not going to be, unfortunately, left behind. This is the letter that the parent wrote to the teacher. I'm pretty sure you can guess what the issue was.
Your daughter's kindergarten teacher is not picking on your daughter. She's saving her from generational illiteracy.
The daughter is struggling to write her name because the mother's illiterate. The letter is filled with grammar mistakes, right? It looks like she's using more so text language. This is not how you write a formal letter. Everyone in the comments is like, oh, okay, now we see.
And on top of that, the comments read, this stopped being funny once I saw the letter, and oh, this explains a lot, and this letter is definitely giving No Child Left Behind. Now, of course, with all the backlash, she had to come online. She had to let all of us know that she is not dumb. She just had a moment. Okay, but writing a professional letter using pencil, misspelling words like what, and every I on the paper being in lowercase was enough to make a lot of people dismiss her. This isn't anything new. A lot of parents put on rose-colored glasses when they look at anything their child does.
This is from a parent who actually made my life very, very difficult all year. One of the emails was, "My child had soccer practice until 8 p.m. and was too tired to complete the homework. Please excuse them from this assignment." I get it. People are tired. Not a problem. How about you ask for another day? How about you say my child will do it over the weekend? I'm okay with an extension as long as they get the practice. But no, they just didn't want to do it. Teachers literally cannot hold students accountable when the parents will find every excuse in the book because their child is too emotional and too tired.
This is what happens when accountability is shoved under the rug. The government worried about their reputation, the schools worried about test scores, and parents refusing to accept the truth. And all of this trying to be covered up by handing them an iPad. And in the end, the students, the kids, are the ones left to fail.
Our kids are less cognitively capable than we were at their age. Since we've been standardizing and measuring cognitive development since the late 1800s, every generation has outperformed their parents. And that's exactly what we want. We want sharper kids. Until Gen Z. Gen Z is the first generation in modern history to underperform us on basically every cognitive measure we have, from basic attention to memory to literacy to numeracy to executive functioning to even general IQ, even though they go to more school than we did. So why? What happened? What happened around 2010 that decoupled schooling from cognitive development? If you look at the data, once countries adopt digital technology widely in schools, performance goes down significantly.
They have all the technology in the world to be the smartest people in the world, yet they're overexposed and underdeveloped. The reality is, yes, a lot of kids can't read, they can't write, they can't comprehend, they can't spell. Okay, you get it. But that doesn't technically mean that they failed the system. It honestly just shows that the system failed them. Thank you for tuning into the Girl Talk you didn't know you needed. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hype, whatever classy people like you do before heading to the next video, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye.